Hello everyone, this is Mr. Kennard, and I want to welcome you to our first investigation of our chemical interactions unit that we're going to be looking at the beginning of this year. We are so excited to have you guys join us and be with us and hopefully learn so much stuff about chemicals and their interactions. All right, so let's get started. For the next several weeks, we will be investigating the properties and the composition of a few of the million different substances in the world. Now, the study of substances and their interactions is what we know as chemistry. Some of you have heard chemistry before. Well, that's what we're getting into, is to looking at these different substances, how they interact, and the chemicals and the chemistry that make them up. Now, when you walk through that door, or in this case, start with us online and virtual, you are entering your chemistry lab, whether it be here in the school or virtual or remote in your home. You are a chemist. And what does that mean? That means you're looking to investigate the chemicals and the substances in the world and what makes them up and how they interact. As I mentioned, we will be in a chemistry lab, and with the chemistry lab, it requires some certain safety rules that we need to all follow. On this page here, you will see a listing of 10 of those common sense, everyday science safety rules that we will need to follow during our lab activities. Specifically, we're going to be looking at wearing safety goggles when we work with the equipment and materials. Remember, never taste or directly smell any of the materials used in the lab. Ingesting those things or taking them in can be very dangerous, can make somebody sick. And finally, we want to make sure that we are responsibly transporting the equipment and materials to and from the materials station and the lab tables. We want to make sure that it is safe, that you're not bumping anybody and spilling or damaging any of the materials, causing a mess that can be dangerous if people come in contact with. So look over these 10 items and become familiar with them for when we use items here in the chemistry lab. Before we start any of the lab activities, we will be sending home a FOSS safety contract for you to read over and for your parents to read over so that they understand the expectations that we have for you in participating in any lab activities that we have in class. So your parents are going to look this all over and read it, and then they will sign it right down here, and you sign. So parents and you will need to sign and date to make sure that you understand what is expected of in class. You'll be signing those and bringing them back so we have them on file, and make sure that we always follow the rules to make sure everyone is safe. Okay, our first thing that we're going to be looking at is something called a mixture mixture. Now, a mixture is any two or more substances put together. And we have a mystery mixture of two unknown white substances. In fact, I was given this container, which you're going to see in the next little video just really shortly, of white powder. But I wasn't told what it was, only that it is a safe mixture of two substances. Well, I'd like to know what those two substances are. So how could we find out what two substances are in the mystery mixture? Normally, when class, we would be looking at the mystery mixture ourselves. We would have two people called getters from each group. They would go up and get 2 cups of those mystery mixture. They'd grab 2 hand lenses for the group, and then they would also, of course, get their safety goggles. So anytime you're working with chemicals, liquids, solids, gases, whatever it might be, you want to have your safety goggles. And they would bring those back to their group tables, and they would make some observations about it. Instead of that happening in class, or if you're virtual or remote, you will be looking at a little video that shows some close-up pictures of that mystery mixture to make observations on. Now, before we're able to actually look at the mixture, we need to make sure that we have a place to write our observations about that mystery mixture. You will have a mystery mixture notebook sheet number 1 that you will have to upload to Notability so that you can make some observations on it about what you're seeing of the 2 white substances in it. So take a minute to go back and find your mystery mixture, upload that into Notability so that you can make your observations where it talks about on statement number 4. When we do that, part 1 will be to observe that unknown mixture. We won't have to worry about goggles unless you're in class. You won't have to worry about the 5 milliliter spoon of mystery mixture in each cup and then observe it. You don't want to touch it or taste it of any sort, but you can write down what you're seeing and what the mixture looks like. We encourage you to do that on number 4 of that notability page. Now, what those observations might be, they might have something to do with the color, or possibly the texture, but they're all white, so we don't have to worry about that, but maybe size. Some of those kinds of things you want to write about to be able to make some observations. So keep that in mind as you're writing those observations about the mystery mixture. Once you've got those observations made, we're going to do a next step, and that's part 2, which is to add water to our mystery mixture. Now, if you were in class, we would take something called a pipette. A pipette is just a small little eyedropper sort of thing where we can control the amount of water. So you're going to add a pipette of water to the mystery mixture in the cup. Don't use the pipette to stir the mixture. Then observe, and you're going to take turns putting additional pipettes of water in the cup, and you want to record your observations after each pipette. Now, instead of us doing it in class, we have another video which shows up close the reaction that the mystery mixture has when we add water to it. Again, on that mystery mixture sheet, you will then record your observations about what you're seeing when we added water to the mystery mixture. Once that's done, you saw what happened when we added the 1 pipette of water to the mixture. Something happened. And then also, what happened additionally when you added the 2nd pipette of water? The real question is, it bubbled and fizzed. Did it fizz and bubble every time that you added a new pipette of water? Or was it just the first? Did it go every time? You should have made those observations. Some additional questions to be thinking about. What do you think caused the bubbling and the fizzing of the mystery mixture with water? And then why does the mixture stop fizzing after 5 pipettes of water have been added? What's happened? Think about those observations and be ready to share those out in another document. So based on what we've seen so far, we've taken 2 substances that are in the mystery mixture. We observed them, gave identification of them possibly, what they look like, what their texture was, any other kinds of observations. Then we mixed them with water, and we had up to 5 pipettes of water, and we got a reaction, and we noticed things were bubbling and fizzing that took place. So how can we find out what 2 substances are in this mystery mixture? Lots of different ways. Google, ask them questions, think of as many ways as we can to come up with what substances might be in the mystery mixture. Your next step will be to share those observations about your mystery mixture, and then also what you think the 2 substances might be. You need to add those to the discussion group for the discussion assignment that will go with this particular lesson. And if you have any questions of what you have about those substances, record that question also about those substances, what you think they are, and maybe come up with a guess. And then we'll talk about those together as well. And finally, an extension activity. Think about, maybe list some ways that you use chemistry at home. What are some things that you most likely consider or think about when we use the term chemistry? And where you might find some of those things in your own home.